After some rain early this morning, the skies temporarily have cleared, and it's a beautiful day for baseball. And of course, this is the first of a doubleheader today here on Fox Sports Ohio, making up for a rainout back in April. The Cubs and the Reds in Game 1 of a twin bill at Great American Ballpark. Hi again, everybody. Alongside Chris Welsh, Jeff Pecoro, and Shannon Ford, I'm Tom Brenneman. Welcome, as always, to Reds baseball on Fox Sports Ohio. A loss in Game 1 for the Reds here last night. And now they hand the ball to a young man who, for the first time all year, huge expectations going into the season for Luis Castillo, is starting to pitch up to those expectations.
You may call that, Tom, perhaps, and he probably doesn't want credit for it, but the Danny Darwin effect that he has had Luis Castillo down in the minor leagues. So when you get some advice from a familiar voice, sometimes it resonates a little bit more, and I think that's the case here with Castillo. He's gone back and basically made things simpler for himself, getting his arm up, using his fastball, pitching inside, and using that very good changeup to his advantage.
You know, let's really focus in on what could be a big storyline here today. You got together with our producer Josh Hall to talk about the changeup for both of these starting pitchers today, Castillo and Kyle Hendricks of the Cubs.
Well, you know, the hitters that will face a good changeup will tell you that it's the single most difficult pitch to figure out because it looks like a fastball until it's about halfway to the plate. And both of these pitchers really rely on the changeup. When you throw 29 or 28% changeups, that is a heavy loaded number of off-speed pitches like that is part of your repertoire. Third and fourth in the league, you see both of them. They're very effective. Batting averages against both these changeups are very, very low, and they both get a lot of strikeouts from that pitch. So heads up to everybody who's in the batter's box today. Look out for that combio, or I should say look out for that combioso, because they're both really good.
This guy's a good pitcher.
He is a good pitcher. He's got a nice, simple delivery. He only throws 88 miles an hour to 90 miles an hour on his fastball. One of the slowest velocity fastballs in the league, but hey, it doesn't keep him from having a very good earned run average each and every year.
All right, when we come back, Jeff Pecoro is standing by. Tell you about the red-hot Tucker Barnhart. Reds and Cubs are around the corner on Fox Sports Ohio.
$100 purchase allowance on most Buick Envision models.
Good afternoon, I'm meteorologist Brandon Orr here from Local 12. We have more rain and storms in the forecast. After yesterday's rain during the game, we don't want that anymore, but that's what's in the forecast. We'll have to watch out for some thunder and lightning, maybe some gusty winds within some of this, but I don't expect widespread severe weather, but certainly some heavy downpours, very likely with some of this. High temperatures around 77 degrees. Enjoy the game right here on Fox Sports Ohio.
Well, there's Tucker Barnhart, and boy, what a past 10 days this young man has had. Had that 7-game hitting streak where he hit over 500. Currently hitting .371 over the last 10, a home run, 4 doubles, triple, 6 RBI as well. He is really playing well behind the dish as well. And boy, as you can see behind me, a lot going on down here. Luke Fickell, Mike Bone from the University of Cincinnati, all down here having a great time. But it's time now for this game's storylines presented by Elk and Elk. Let's talk a little bit about the double headers that the Reds have played. 14th day-night doubleheader since 1997. They won both games twice. The last sweep was July 8th versus the Cubs in 2014. They've had 5 splits, and they've also lost both games 6 times, the last time coming in 2016 versus the Pirates. It has become a nice day down here on the field, a little bit of a breeze, and Luis Castillo as he is walking in, as he is going to start Game 1. And when we come back, it's game time. Tom and Chris up next with all the game action.
His 10th started this year, 3 up, 4 down. Some of his numbers coming up momentarily. But the Chicago Cubs starting lineup he'll be facing under manager Joe Madden, presented by Nissan. Albert Almora Jr. leads off in center. Bryant down at third. Anthony Rizzo, the first baseman, bats third. Addison Russell coming off a 4-hit night, followed by Kyle Schwarber and Victor Caratini behind the plate in Game 1. Latter third of Baez, Happ, who plays right field today, and Hendricks on the mound. Dive into some of the numbers on the right-hander Luis Castillo.
Well, the last 2 starts for Castillo, he's beaten the New York Mets and he's beaten the Los Angeles Dodgers, so he's got a little bit of a roll going on. He has 46 strikeouts and only 15 walks. So that gives me a pretty good indication of a young man that has got the ability to throw the ball over the plate when he keeps his windup under control. He has a very still head. That's the one thing you'll notice throughout his delivery. And I think that he's more gotten back to basics, which is what Danny Darwin preaches. You know, do three things. Number one, you pitch inside. Number two, you throw a lot of strikes. And number three, you're going to change speeds. That's said over and over by every pitching coach out there, and it resonates, and that's why he is on a roll.
Almora looks at strike one, and this one underway. The home plate umpire is Pat Holberg, to be joined by Sean Barber at first, John Trumpaine at second base, and Jim Reynolds, the crew chief, is at third. 1 ball, 1 strike on Almora. You know, you talked about since Danny Darwin arrived, Castillo in those 3 starts has walked just 2 batters while fanning 22. He had walked 13 against 24 strikeouts in the prior starts to the change. And the Cubs begin the game as they did last night. They had 5 straight hits, you may remember, producing 3 runs before Homer Bailey recorded a single out. Reds on defense presented by Ford. Winker gets a start out in left field for Duvall here in game 1. We'll see Adam in game 2, I'm sure. Schebler back in there. Suarez left the game early last night. Did not appear to be running well with that injured ankle suffered in San Francisco, but he's in the lineup today. And Tucker Barnhart hanging the signs for Castillo. More than likely see Tony Cruz, one would assume, in game 2, but we'll wait and see. Almora been thrown out his only stolen base attempt of the year. And here's Chris Bryant, the Chicago third baseman, off to a monster start so far this season. .425 on base percentage, .592 slugging percentage. Ahead of the numbers he put up in his first 37 games a year ago. His OPS leads the National League and is 5th in the major leagues. His slugging percentage 2nd in the National League. And that on base percentage 4th best.
There's the changeup, and that's the whole idea with Chris Bryant. Bryant is a big guy. We've talked about his stance, how he's 6'5", but he kind of squats down, and he gives you a very much smaller strike zone. The best way to pitch Bryant is faster and slower rather than up and down and in and out. He's got great plate coverage.
1 ball, 2 strikes on Bryant, leadoff man aboard, and that'll draw a throw. Almora is not a base stealing threat in any form or fashion. He had 1 last year. Now he's had a couple of minor league seasons where he had 10, 8, but that's been a while. At the big league level, he has 1 stolen base in 2 years.
Yeah, and the Cubs don't run really at all. In fact, they're the 3rd from the bottom as far as number of stolen bases as a team this year. They only have 14. They've been thrown out 7 times. That's not a good ratio. When you're only successful about 66% of the time that you try to run, that's basically you ought to shut down the running game. Now, the Reds really don't have all that many more. They've got 20 stolen bases, but they've only been thrown out 5 times. So they've got a success rate of 80%, which is right on the cusp of leading the league.
Sinking liner that'll fall in front of Billy Hamilton. Back-to-back singles to begin the game for Chicago, and they have a lot of fans here naturally today. I'm sure even a few more tonight in game 2 of the doubleheader. And Almora is hurt.
Yeah, he came around second base and tripped. I don't know whether his cleats got caught up or whether he slipped in some wet or dirt or mud, but he is in some serious pain. He takes a hard turn around second base and stops, and you can see him kind of skid right there, grab his left knee. And, you know, when a player slams his helmet down after he makes a movement with his knee like that, he probably is fearing for the worst. Well, if he wasn't a base stealing threat before, Tom, I'd imagine you can even erase it and make it maybe a minus threat. He'll stay in the game. First two have reached.
And now Anthony Rizzo off to a very quiet start this year, although he did have a 2-hit night last night. And you love this, swinging at the first pitch in a pop-up Shebler's way, so you'll take that all day, every day.
Well, even though he had a couple of hits last night, he came into the ball game 0 for the last 12. He raised his batting average from 195 to over 200. So, you know, it may be a good sign for him, but it doesn't mean he's automatically out of that slump.
Well, here's a guy that's been slumping most of this season until just this week. And what a night he had last night. Was on base 5 times. He had 4 singles. Addison Russell stole a base, knocked in a run, drew a walk. Breaking ball in there, strike 1 to Russell. Russell, the 11th pick overall in the first round back in 2012 by the Oakland Athletics. Boy, and what a deal put together by Chicago. I mean, when you're going to trade valuable parts or valuable pieces, and at that time, Jeff Samardzija and Jason Hamill were valuable pitchers and valuable pieces for the Oakland A's. They were trying to get in the playoffs. But coming back the other way was not only in that deal Addison Russell. How about the name Dan Straley? He came back in that trade. But Russell, of course, the guy who figures to be their shortstop for a long, long time. Never hits much for average. His 3 years in the big leagues, twice in the 230s. Was hurt a lot last year. But he's still so young. He just turned 24 in January of this year.
Yeah, you start considering that, and there are a lot of kids who are still working their way through the minor leagues at age 24 who've never had a taste of the major leagues. He's what, in his 3rd season?
Three balls, 2 strikes. I mean, when you consider that Russell's been in the big leagues 3 years, he's younger than the man he's facing on the mound.
He probably says that to just about everybody in baseball.
Just about, except when they play the Atlanta Braves.
This pitch has to look like a strike here.
3-2 on Russell. Nowhere near the strike zone, and the bases are loaded.
Yeah, that's the problem, really. You know, as I look at the spray chart, the pitching chart of Luis Castillo, there are a lot of pitches that he has that just are simply way outside. And he's got such good stuff and such good movement. It's almost better, I think, for him to miss down but over the plate rather than outside, because that last pitch never did look like a strike to Russell, and you're not going to get a bad swing out of that.
Comes a native Cincinnatian himself, Kyle Schwarber. Technically grew up north of Cincinnati in Middletown, Ohio. Middletown High School grad in 2011. And then, of course, played collegiately at Indiana University in Bloomington. They're loaded for Schwarber. Ball 1. Very patient batter. And has done so much damage, as we documented here last night against the Reds. Against everybody else in baseball, he's roughly about a .215 hitter. But in a month's worth of games against Cincinnati in his career, he is over a .340 hitter. Tapper, they'll have to hurry. There's a tag. Well done by Gennett, and a big double play recorded by Castillo. So the Cubs miss a big chance.
Russell's at first base right here, and watch him as his ball is hit on the ground by Kyle Schwarber. Russell basically runs right into a double play. Thank you very much. Instead of stopping and maybe going backwards a little bit or just stopping in anticipation of Gennett getting that ball. You know, that was a double play. All he needed to do was delay Gennett by a couple of steps, and Schwarber gets to the bag, the Cubs score a run, and the Reds are still in the field. So even a great player like Addison Russell shows you that he's only 24 years old and he's still got a little bit to learn.
All right, so here come the Reds in the bottom of the first inning. It'll be Jesse Winker, Jose Peraza, then Joey Votto. We'll give you the rest of the lineup in a minute. Against really a young man who's become one of the better pitchers in the National League. He doesn't get a lot of pub. But over these last 3 seasons, he was hurt for a spell last year, only made 24 starts, but the year before that, he gathered a lot of votes in 2016 for the National League Cy Young Award, and that's Kyle Hendricks.
Well, he does it with pinpoint control and the ability to sell his changeup, make it look like a fastball.
Winker's average tumbling down to 252. Still a decent on base percentage at 355, but he was well into the mid 400s before this recent slump and really has drawn very few walks for quite some time after a pile of them through the first 3 weeks of April.
Well, I think the league is beginning to try to figure out Jesse Winker. And that's a really good changeup. He threw 2 of them in this at bat, one on an 0-1 count that Winker didn't read right and pulled his bat back for strike through. Once he goes strike 2, you know the bunt is going to be off, and he just throws it a perfect spot.
Peraza looks at ball 1. Jose at 263. Couple of home runs, 9 doubles, 10 runs batted in.
You know, Tom, as I watch Kyle Hendricks pitch, and we're only a couple of weeks away from the 2018 baseball amateur draft, and I can't help but think how many high school and junior college and college pitchers are there out there right now that are just like Kyle Hendricks. I mean, can't hardly break a pane of glass. I mean, he throws 90 at the very most, but are just going to be sitting on the sidelines because their names aren't called because they're not 97 miles per hour pitchers. So many of these scouts have been told to go out there and bring some arms back here. Don't bring back a guy that, you know, doesn't throw hard but has good control. There's his pitching repertoire. Tops that at 88. Throws a lot of changeups, occasional curveball. Most of those are going to be early in the count.
But you know, Chris, I got to tell you, and you and I talked at length on the last road trip, on the air and off the air, about, you know, the way baseball is. I mean, look, people may not like the word, but it's the truth, and it's the word that people inside the game use when they're having conversations. The way Major League Baseball and through their minor league systems have babied pitchers coming up through the system. They don't let them go beyond 100 pitches. They rarely ever let them pitch out of jams or go a third time through the batting order. So when they get to the big leagues, why would anybody expect a young person to be able to do that if you've never had practice doing it? So that's topic number 1. But I think topic 2 goes hand in hand with what you just said. If I had $1 for every time I heard somebody say what you just said, you know, how many guys could get people out pitching like Kyle Hendricks does, but nobody's ever going to draft those guys? But it's an issue that nobody ever takes on. And so it just seems like it goes in just one big circle where people say, boy, there are a ton of those guys out there. And you're right, there are a ton of them out there. You could go draft 20 of those guys, and you'd probably hit 3 of them, 4 of them that make the big leagues for you one day.
I mean, at 88 miles an hour, Kyle Hendricks would have a hard time finding a D1 scholarship at a big-time school.
Right. And in there stealing second base is Peraza.
I love the fact that he's going to be a little more aggressive on the base paths. You got Peraza near the top of the lineup, Billy Hamilton at the bottom of the lineup, so Riggleman is trying to bunch the speed together once the lineup turns over. You look for an off-speed pitch to do it on. You got a change-up. Caratini's got a good arm and makes it a lot closer than it should have been.
Almost makes you wonder if that was a design hit-and-run play with Peraza looking back. They don't do that much with Votto. He is not a guy the Reds have hit and run with pretty much throughout his entire career.
Could have been a run and hit kind of situation, but less than 2 outs, I think you always want to know where the ball is anyhow.
1-2 to Votto. Joey at 284, 6 home runs, 24 batted in, has 5 doubles. He was 0 for 3, drew a walk here last night. Hendricks' career earned run average, is 4th best among all pitchers in Major League Baseball that have made 100 or more starts. And again, you get back to what Chris was just talking about. This guy's career ERA starts with a 2.9. He only trails Clayton Kershaw, Jacob deGrom, and Chris Sale. Those are the only 3 pitchers with an ERA lower than Kendrick since he was brought to the big leagues. He ranks ahead of guys like Strasburg and Bumgarner. On swinging Votto, he swung so hard he almost fell over.
Well, I mean, this is just a great example of what I've said many times, is that the hitters hit what they see or that they think that they see. They don't hit the radar gun. And that was 87 miles an hour, and Votto comes up empty. I mean, case in point, last night, Homer Bailey was throwing the ball 96 miles an hour, and they tattooed him all over the ballpark. So it takes more than speed. It takes a little deception and obviously good command.
Take a look quickly at the Reds lineup presented by Nissan. You have Gennett now, Suarez next, and Schebler, and the latter third of Barnhart, Castillo, and Hamilton. Lined into center field. That'll be a base hit that'll drive in a run, and the beat goes on for Scooter Gennett. As soon as he made contact, the rain begins to fall. And that base hit for Gennett is 26 batted in, a 1-0 Reds lead here in the first inning.
Well, you know, ask any hitter and they'll tell you the tastiest thing out there is a 2-out ribeye. And this is what Gennett gets right here. It's a good pitch by Hendricks, down and away at the bottom of the strike zone, right in the corner. But Gennett's got good plate coverage. I mean, he can extend his swing and make it long when he wants. He can get his hands in and cover the inner part of the plate. He is flat out getting it done.
Well, you'd like to think this is going to be a quick passing shower. It's already starting to lighten up from where it was even 30 seconds ago, although the majority of the fans are making their way to the cover. This is the old hidden ball trick the Cubs are trying to pull off.
Rizzo's got it in his glove, right?
Yep. Scooter knew it.
You know, you'll see that work about maybe once a year, maybe twice a year. You know, the key is that you have to have a base runner or a base coach that has gone to sleep. And the other is to make sure that your pitcher doesn't end up, you know, straddling the rubber or doing something illegal.
Suarez, a ground ball to the glove side of Russell to force out will end the inning. The Reds strike first here in the opening frame on a walk to Peraza, stolen base, and a base hit by Gennett. Experience to catch every moment this season. Download MLB At Bat today. Reds with a 1-0 lead as Chicago sends Caratini to the plate to lead things off, followed by Baez and Happ against Castillo. Cubs had the bases loaded with 1 out in the first inning if you weren't with us. But Castillo got Schwarber on a double play to get out of the inning. Votto will wave off Castillo and beat Caratini to the bag, and that's out number 1 in the Chicago's second inning. Change at the top of the National League Central last night. We told you that Milwaukee was a winner, and that Pittsburgh suffered a rare loss here of late. Pirates losing at home to San Diego. So Milwaukee a half game better than the Pirates. Cardinals a winner last night, a game and a half back, and then the Cubs at 5 games over 500. 2 behind the division leading Brewers. The National League East and the National League Central, each with 4 teams playing above 500 on the year. We only have 2 out west. Rain really coming down now. Javier Baez fouls it away, 2 balls and a strike. And this was predicted, sort of on and off, spot shower here, spot shower there. You saw the forecast we gave you here on Fox Sports Ohio from Channel 12 before the game began. And knowing that there is a doubleheader here today, I'm sure they're going to try and plow forward and play through some of these showers on again and off again.
Good weekend to have the poncho concession.
For sure. 2-2 delivery. Baez a whopping 37 runs batted in. Picked up 1 here last night. He was hitless until his final at bat when he had an infield hit to drive in a run in the 8th, and the 37 runs batted in, most in the National League. The Cubs must feel like they bring with them wherever they go. I'm sure many of them say every time we come to Cincinnati it seems like it rains. They've been here twice, and they would be accurate. But this is a Cub team that's already had 6 games rained out this year. They've made up 2 of them. This would be the second game. Made up 1 at home against Atlanta earlier in the week. Castillo throws a fastball right by Baez, and that's the first strikeout of the game for Luis. 2 down.
You know, both of these pitchers that have a lot of success with their changeups have about 10 miles per hour difference between changeup and fastball. So the whole idea is to get the batter off stride a little bit, get them velocitized, looking at one speed and throw it another.
Three and 2 on Ian Happ, playing right field today. And slicing down the left field line, a fair ball into the corner. And Happ with a stand-up 2-out double the other way. Third hit for Chicago.
Well, Happ, we mentioned, was a former first-round pick out of the University of Cincinnati. The Cubs, that is, picked him in 2015. And this is very much like the hitter that he was at college. First 2 seasons as a freshman and a sophomore, He hit .322. Then he had a bust-out season his junior year. Had 14 home runs, a .369 batting average, and that's what landed him in the first round.
Well, here's the pitcher, Hendricks. 1 hit in 18 at bats without a run batted in. And you see, he struck out 8 of the 18 trips. So Castillo trying to put an end to this Chicago's second inning. 1 ball and 1 strike. Reds with a 1-0 lead on the 2-out single by Gennett in the bottom of the first inning on this doubleheader Saturday, day-night doubleheader. Second game scheduled to begin, originally scheduled that game 7:10. This is the makeup game. Broken back, Floro to Castillo, and that's all for the Cubbies here in the second. Reds lead 1-0. Check out concession stands throughout the ballpark for the Kroger meal deal. You get a hot dog, bag of chips, 16-ounce Coke. And during this homestand, Ocean Spray Craisins. Make sure to get your Kroger meal deal today. I was out bagging groceries at Kroger yesterday over in Alexandria, Kentucky. Tom Armbruster, he is the brother of longtime Reds engineer Dave Armbruster. He is the store manager over there. I had that job for about 8 years growing up as a kid, bagging groceries, and loved it and had a great time. Met a lot of nice people over there yesterday morning.
Did you get any tips yesterday?
On bagging? No.
Yeah.
I'm good at bagging. I'm not good at much. I can bag some groceries.
Me too. I had a bagging job when I was a young kid.
Great job.
Yeah.
And Kroger, they really treat them right over there. Scott Schebler was not in the lineup here last night. Back in there today, game 1 of this doubleheader. Reds lead 1-0. They bat in the second inning, and Schebler lifts one into center field. Almora Jr., apparently his leg is fine. Able to go get it and make the catch. Let's look at the Chicago Cubs on defense. You've seen their lineup already today. They have Almora getting a start in center. Happ started in center, played left yesterday, starts in right today. Regular infield. And Caratini replacing Contreras in game 1. I'm sure we'll see him working with Jose Quintana, the left-hander, in the nightcap. Strike 1 to Tucker Barnhart. .267 batter. On base percentage of over .360 for Tucker Barnhart. Having a nice year. Rumbling of thunder off in the distance, meaning lightning's not too far behind. And Little League games, whatever the sport might be, not just baseball or lacrosse or soccer, any of the games the kids play, the first sound of thunder or sight of lightning, the game comes to immediate end. There's a swing and a miss by Barnhart. And really, this is the second or third spring now in a row. You brought it up earlier, Chris, off the air, just talking about all the youth baseball and softball games, boys and girls, that just continue to get wiped out. April is normally the month where we see so much rain. April showers bringing the May flowers, that kind of thing. But we've had a lot of rain here in the month of May.
Yeah, but I guess the difference, though, between those 2 months is that when it rains in April, you never really have any drying opportunity because it's so cold. May warms up a little bit. It can rain one day, and maybe you get out there and work on the field. I was watching the the grounds crew work on the field here, and I was thinking about those days, as a youth coach, you run out there with your, the first thing you pile into your car is, rakes and shovels and towels, and you're just doing everything you can to try to make that field playable. They did a great job here.
The University of Cincinnati football Bearcats throws out the first pitch. His son Landon, a freshman at Moeller, with the catch, and you made it there, and he caught it. That's pretty impressive there, Coach.
Yeah, actually, that was last year. This year we kind of had Kamani Fitz, one of our players, that caught it this year, and it actually probably saved me because I got twin boys that were flying back and forth to say who was going to get the catch, and it was going to make me make a tough decision. So it kind of worked out good for us.
Well, wait, you got 6 kids, so that's a tough decision anyway, right?
Yeah, but my daughter had no interest in doing it. And the 3-year-olds, I didn't think that was probably the right time for them. So it was going to be a tough decision between the two 4th graders.
All right, second year on the job, and really the first real season where your whole coaching staff could go out and really hit the recruiting trail, and boy, did you. What a class you guys brought in.
I'm really excited about it. I mean, it really kind of, the whole culture and everything that we wanted to do starts with recruiting. And to find those kids in the Midwest in that 300-mile radius and, what we call that state of Cincinnati, that 50 miles that really believe that's going to be the core and the crux of who we are and what we do. Feel really, really good about those guys and excited to get them here on June 2nd here.
You got a couple guys that came in early that are already here with you, and one of those kids, Malik Van, the defensive lineman, he's something special, isn't he?
He is. He's an incredible football player. He's going to be a star for us, but he's even a better kid. And the maturity that he has and the things that he's going to bring, not just to our whole program, but to these guys that are coming in with him here in this freshman class, it's really, really exciting.
What'd you learn from spring practice? You got through it. Hayden Moore had a pretty good spring. I know he's being pushed a little bit by some of the younger guys, but what about it?
Well, I think it was unique for us this spring. Last spring, we were trying to just figure out who guys were, trying to find out who was going to compete, who was going to kind of fight and scratch. And this year, we kind of got to work on actually making and developing football players. And we saw a lot of guys take a lot of steps as football players, and that's what we're excited to be able to showcase this year.
You saw that base hit drop in front of Billy Hamilton. Boy, you could use him out there at cornerback, couldn't you?
Well, we could use a lot of them guys. I like their competitiveness, and I don't know, the ball skills there. I thought I might have had that one. So, unfortunately in football, sometimes these guys get excited about PBUs, pass breakups. We really get excited about when they catch them. So these guys with these kind of ball skills, I think we might have to bring them down here to work with them.
How exciting is it for the kids? I know opening day this year, September 1st at UCLA. So good to go out there to California. That's a fun trip for these kids.
It is, and it's a business trip, and I think that for our guys to get that environment to see and to kind of start off, and it's kind of nice to get away sometimes too. So it's going to be our first real kind of trip together. Last year we didn't have anything long distance, and it's nice to have it right off the bat. So I think they're really excited about it. It's a unique venue. It's one of the best in college football that I've ever been in. But more importantly, excited for those guys just to kind of, that second year of those guys gelling together. You go on the road, you got to kind of count on one another, and that's what I think is going to be the catalyst for us as we get into this season.
Coach, what did you think of the first year in the AAC? You had 3 really, really strong teams on top. Navy's always good. The 2 Florida teams are sensational last year.
It's really good, and I mean what UCF did this year is you can't shrug it off. Right. And I think that everybody, Houston kind of did it a year ago, and I think what UCF did. Again, I wish they would have had one of those early on games that everybody would have kind of recognized a little bit more. But the league in general is unbelievable, the strength throughout it, and I think you're going to continue to see that.
Well, Luke Fickell, good luck this year, your second year at the helm of the UC Bearcats. We appreciate you taking some time.
Thanks, guys.
All right, back upstairs. Tom, Chris?
All right, we thank Jeff. We thank Luke Fickell. Wish him and the Bearcats the very best of luck. Chicago inning starts with a bloop single by Almora, and he scores on a double by Bryant. Boy, Bryant is smoking hot.
Well, those 2 batters got base hits to start the ball game off. They were stranded as it turned out to be a double play to end the first inning, but Bryant is looks like he just sees the ball so well right now.
So a 1-1 game after 2 batters to tie it up here in the Chicago third, and that'll bring Rizzo to the plate. He swung at the first pitch his first time up and popped up to Shubler in short right field. Bryant now with 23 runs batted in. And that is already his 14th double of this season. Look out. Boy, look out. Hopefully everybody's okay down there. That's right where the cutoff ends for the screen that has been extended all over ballparks in Major League Baseball. And in actuality, those seats, come back down the way it curves around. They get closer and closer to the playing field around there. My, oh my, was that scary. That exit velocity coming off the bat of Rizzo was 112 miles per hour. 1-2 on Rizzo with Brian at second and none out. Struck him out.
Just to put that exit velocity in perspective, that will be one of the hardest hit balls hit in the major leagues all day long today.
Do you know, and I don't mean to throw you on the spot here, because, I think for a lot of fans, and maybe I'm speaking for some, I would dare not do that, but I find it interesting that when we give some of these numbers, what's the average? I mean, if you were to take the average exit velocity of every ball put in play, and that one wasn't in play, it was a foul ball, but any idea? I mean, is there anywhere to find out something like that?
High 80s to low 90s.
Okay.
Depending on the hitter. I mean, obviously a guy like Votto has a higher average exit velocity. He'd be in the 90s probably. And I'm just guessing. I recall this. I could probably ask Joel Luckup to look it up. But
I think Joel's going to take a look right now.
That's pretty much what it is. And if you're in the lower range, you're probably in the mid to high 80s in your exit velocity overall. So you're going to have some that you're hitting at 70 when you hit a little topper back to the pitcher, and then you're going to have some that are hitting up around 100 or 105. If you hit a line drive or a home run. Am I anywhere close? I see you looking at the computer.
So like the Joe Luckup able to pull this up. He, after all, is the baseball savant. The highest exit velocity average for any player in baseball belongs to Aaron Judge. I don't think that surprises anybody. 96 miles per hour. Miguel Cabrera's third on that list at 95. You've got guys like, Ohtani's in the top 10, Jose Abreu, Giancarlo Stanton. Among others ranking in the top 20, roughly. Christian Yelich in there, Andrew McCutchen.
These are all big, strong dudes you're talking about now.
And you're dropping down. Once you start getting into, say, the 40s, the 40th, now you're at the 92 as an average. Eugenio Suarez actually is a leader for the Reds, and he is overall in Major League Baseball 42nd with an average of 92.2. Swing and a miss, and that's strike three on Addison Russell.
Well, finally the Reds have figured out a way to get Russell out. They couldn't do it last night. They didn't do it in the first at bat tonight or this afternoon, and just a high heater right by him.
And Chris, you were right on the nose there. Your memory is still serving you well, which is nice to know.
I just
for
read
a
it 10
your
minutes
age.
ago.
All right. But roughly the middle of the pack of the number of players, it's right around 88, 89 miles per hour. So that's a significant jump. When you're talking about that ball Rizzo hit a minute ago going 112 miles an hour.
They used to measure, before they had the StatCast, which is I think only a few years old, they used to measure the average distance of a fly ball. I always wondered why, and then you realize, well, the guys who average longer on a fly ball have a chance of hitting more into the seats. Now it's much more precise. I mean, down to the 100th of a mile per hour. Kind of like that Indiana State Patrolman that's sitting in wait for you for your next trip up to Chicago, Tom.
Fortunately, I'm not going there for a while.
Well, we give him the summer off then.
Hey, all I know is the last person to get a ticket in our household was the female.
Oh,
part of it. So, after getting beat over the head for the better part of the last 17 years, At least I have a few months of just sitting back and not saying anything.
Yeah,
I don't have to say anything.
Way. Yeah,
that's
yeah.
right.
I wouldn't rub it in.
No, I would never would. I don't like her doing it to me. They're going to intentionally walk Schwarber. Second walk given up by Castillo, and they'll take their chances with Caratini. Cubs have had a number of base runners in this game. 7 base runners through 2 2/3 innings. And Caratini looks at strike 1. But they've only managed 1 run. They had the bases loaded in the first inning with 1 out. And it was Schwarber who bounced into an inning-ending double play thanks to some poor base running by Addison Russell. The runner who was at first at the time basically stayed out of a rundown or then didn't force Gennett to throw the ball for the forced play at second base. This ball in the air will back up Winker, and he will make the catch to end the inning. Cubs strand 2. They've left 5. We're tied at 1. Reynolds from Amelia, Ohio, will win that beautiful new Tundra thanks to your Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky Toyota dealers. But what an unbelievable school they built out there. You know, they combined the 2 schools, Amelia and Glen Estey. And that was a big deal out there. They voted on it a couple of years ago, and I would expect them to become quite the powerhouse moving forward in every way. They've always had good schools out there in Claremont County, but that is one of the, well, it's the biggest school by far in that county. A lot of good athletes out that way as growth has continued to extend well east of downtown.
You know, I don't really understand why Billy Hamilton would even try to fake a bunt with the configuration that the Cubs have out there today. Kyle Hendricks is a very agile pitcher. He covers his position well. You've got the third baseman, Bryant, coming in hard. I mean, look where he's playing anyway. And unless you're going to drag it down to first baseline and make Rizzo field it, I mean, all you're doing is putting yourself into a hole against a pitcher that he's going to throw some strikes at you early on. You're going to find yourself in a 2-strike hole, although now he's around the count 2-1. I would much rather see in this situation, I remember Rafael Furcal, longtime Atlanta Brave player, Los Angeles Dodgers shortstop, exceptional player, all-star player. He used to shorten up and slash that ball at the third baseman when he saw that guy coming in there. And a lazy pop-up just doesn't get it done.
1-1 game. Reds batting here at the bottom of the third, and back to the top of the order we go. And left fielder Jesse Winker, he struck out swinging his first time up.
I mean, if you just in a tight ball game like we have today, if you just think the emotional difference of getting Billy Hamilton on base, what it does to the entire playing field, the defense, your own dugout, everybody, eyes are peeled.
I don't recall many teams putting this dramatic of a shift on Jesse Winker.
No. Well, he hasn't had much of a sample size until now. I mean, he played a little bit last year. You don't really know what's going on. Now he's played, you know, a month and a half here in the major leagues this year. So you're beginning to have enough at bats to figure out that the spray chart actually is valid.
Well, who's going to get to the bag here? It'll be the pitcher, and the call is safe.
Hendricks never touched the bag. I mean, that is a perfect placement for a bunt. This time it was a swinging bunt. They're going to check the tape. Did Hendricks get his foot on the bag is the question. We can't see from that angle. Nor that angle.
Well, had he not reached back again with that toe, I think he probably gets the call, because it looked like he made contact with it.
Yeah, but where the umpire was, Tom, I think he had that line right, you know, a really good look at that spot. And that's the danger. You know, we talk about it a lot. The danger of the pitcher, the ball, the runner, all getting to first base at the same time. Yeah, I mean, it's a recipe for chaos.
So Winker catches a break on a ball hit no more than 85 feet. He gets an infield hit. And here's Jose Peraza. Double play ball all the way here, and this will end the Reds' third inning. 1-1 game. We're off to the fourth at Great American Ballpark. Game one of a doubleheader in Cincinnati today. The outcome together. And by your local Ford dealer, Ford. Go further. Every day, family day at the old ballpark here in Cincinnati. A lot of Cub fans have made the trip in. First pitch swinging is Baez to open the Chicago fourth in a 1-1 game, and that's one pitch and one out. Castillo could use a quick 1-2-3 inning. He's got 7, 8, and 9 in the batting order. He had a pitch out of bases loaded, 1 out in the first inning, runner in scoring position in the second inning, 2 on, nobody out in the third inning. Cubs tied the game at 1 after the Reds had scored in the opening inning on a single by Gennett. It was a single by Almora and a double by Bryant, which tied the game. Happ doubled with 2 outs in the second inning down the left field line. 1 ball, 1 strike. After the rainout last night, the Dodgers and Nationals have to play a doubleheader today, so this isn't the only one in baseball. That's the disadvantage of the way the schedule works now, where you only play teams outside your division a pair of series, 1 home and 1 on the road. So in the Dodgers case, they cross the country to play in DC, get rained out the first night of a series. You got to make it up while you're there. Sun shining brightly right now after we had some rain through the second and third innings. Go from needing the poncho and the umbrella to a little sunscreen in about a 20-minute interval. Well, there's just an at-bat, and those are the kinds of at-bats that are really hurting Castillo, and being able to pitch deeper into games. I mean, you got 1 out, nobody on. You get ahead in the count, a couple of strikes, and nibble. Next thing you know, ball 4. Now, he hasn't been walking a lot of guys here recently. We mentioned only 2 total over his last 3 starts, but frequently you're going from 1-2 to 3-2, or 0-1, 0-2 to 2-2.
Well, when you're down at the bottom of the lineup, it's when it really begins to be more noticeable. Reds are trying to figure out whether Hendrick is up there to bunt or not. He did not show signs of it when they threw over to first base.
Well, he does not have a sacrifice this year. Of course, he's not been much of a hitter either. He's 1 for 19. So either he's a really bad bunter.
Oh, well, that would be a balk. And that was caused by Joey Votto, or a mix-up between Votto and Castillo. Because when Castillo turned to throw to first base, Votto was already charging in towards home. And even if he had thrown it to Votto at that point, it wouldn't have made any difference because Votto was not close enough to the bag to make a play. That's the 1 ball call you don't need an explanation for.
0-1 on Hendricks. Popped up. This will be the second out of the inning as Gennett waves off Billy Hamilton. So one more out to go here in the Cubs' fourth. It'll be Almora batting already for the third time.
You know, in talking about the rain that have followed the Chicago Cubs around, Tom, you know, when they hosted the Atlanta Braves in Chicago in April, they had a couple of rainouts. One was postponed, was played that time, and then the Braves had to fly back and already play them. Well, as it turns out, when the Cubs went down to Atlanta just recently before they came into town here, they had their last game rained out. So they're going to have to fly back to Atlanta to make that play up. So these teams both basically have had 4 plane trips for 2 games. Cubs going back to Atlanta, and Atlanta already going back to Chicago.
In fact, the series this week, it started with the 1-game makeup on Monday between the Braves and the Cubs in Chicago. Then both got on the plane and flew to Atlanta for the regularly scheduled series. Very odd.
And the worst part of it is there are just no frequent flyer miles for those charter planes.
No, there are not. Boy, it's a tough way to go, though. Well, you and Jim Day carrying on those charter flights like nobody's business.
We rule the back row.
Yes, you do.
Might not be the safest seat, but it's the one closest to the beverage
Well,
cart.
you two guys are a little, on the elitist side. I mean, I tend to, I sat with Lauren White on one leg of the trip, who handles our graphics, and Max Sigafus, and of course, they may not be wanting to sit next to me.
Didn't want to say anything.
Two balls and 2 strikes. You see the pitches already 74 of them for Castillo. We are in the 4th inning.
And the majority of the pitches that are missing for him are outside. I mean, if you can just change where he misses, I think it would improve his pitch efficiency tremendously. That pitch is a great example, exactly what I'm talking about. It never looked like a strike coming out of your hand. So as a pitcher, you want to throw a pitch that looks like a strike that ends up as a ball, or a pitch that looks like a ball but ends up as a strike, not one that looks like a ball and ends up as a ball, because that is a true waste pitch.
And this is another count that started 0-2, and now it's the 5th 3-ball count in the game. And he has just walked Almora in front of Chris Bryant, and he was ahead in the count to Almora 0-2. I mean, it's one thing to continue to say guys are young. But these guys have been pitching for a long time. Maybe not in the major leagues. But when you get ahead of guy 0-2 and you're walking guys, that has nothing to do with you.
Well, it certainly puts an extra pressure on Tucker Barnhart behind the plate to not only call the game, but to kind of coach the pitcher.
Swing and a miss by Bryant. Well, let's see if Castillo can get out of it here. Bryant a single to center and a missile double to drive in a run to right center field his last time up. That was in the 3rd, 1 inning ago. 78th pitch of the game coming up for Luis Castillo. He's walked 4, 1 intentionally. Good pitch there. 95 fastball inside corner, about thigh high. So again, he's ahead 0-2.
He's dotted both corners, one with a changeup, that last one with a fastball. Now, why not one up and in right here? I mean, not up around the neck, but I mean, how about underneath the elbows? Because remember, if you're Luis Castillo, this matchup between Castillo and Bryant, if Castillo stays healthy, is going to happen a lot over the next 5 years. And Bryant's 2 for 2. He looked awfully comfortable his last time up. How about making him feel uncomfortable here?
They're going away. And that's exactly where they pitched Bryant the first 2 times up, and he has hit 2 rockets in this game.
All that does is help him define the outside part of the strike zone.
See where they're setting up this time on a 1-2 pitch. Away again. Struck him out on a fastball, and that'll end the inning. 4 strikeouts for Castillo. He walks 2 in the inning, but gets out of it. 1-1 game.
Reds and Nationals, they go 15, and boy, how about some defense? First, it's Brandon Phillips, then Billy Hamilton with the diving catch. Top of 15, Todd Frazier. 2-run homer, Reds win it 4-3 in 15 innings. Our look back brought to you by Geico. Tom?
All right, Peck, thank you very much. Good memories here. And here's Joey Votto to lead things off in a 1-1 game. Reds batting in the bottom of the 4th inning. Votto struck out against Hendricks his first time up. Strike 2. This guy's a strike machine. He's walked 1 batter, and the only batter he walked in the game came around to score. That was Peraza in the first inning, who stole second and scored on a base hit by Scooter Gennett. And that didn't miss by much.
Well, Votto is one guy on this Reds lineup that has really had his way with Hendricks in his career. That strikeout was a very unusual ending to an at-bat for Votto and Hendricks. Votto hitting .500 off of Hendricks coming into this game.
Yeah, they've decided, though, they're going to crowd Votto. Not necessarily all with hard stuff, but I mean, they continue to pitch him inside at least the first 2 games of this series.
Well, I mean, 87 is hard for Hendricks. I mean, that's what he struck Votto out on his first time up, a fastball. Yeah, I don't think that you can pitch Votto just one way, and that's one of his main goals as a hitter.
Hooked into right field off the end of the bat, and it's off the glove of a diving Ian Happ. And Votto will pull in with a double. Didn't hit it very hard, but in a good spot and a good way to start it in the 4th.
Well, he got it in the air, which is what I think he was trying to do right there. Hendricks got that ball up a little bit, just a little bit above the knees, and for Votto, that's enough to hit the underside of the ball and hook it down the right field line. Happ's a good outfielder, and he almost comes up with that one. He's played center field an awful lot.
Funded by Gennett. And that'll advance a runner. I'll tell you what right now, if Kendricks even turns around, and we saw in Votto on defense last night, Kendricks had made up his mind that he was going to play to first base. Hendricks, he might have had Votto at third.
Well, Votto got a very slow break. I think this just caught Joey Votto by surprise. Watch him here at second base. I mean, he hesitates, and then he realizes, and then at that point, you know, Hendricks has the ball, Bryant is at the bag, and Hendricks never does turn around, so he ends up throwing to first base. Reds catch a break, runner at third, 1 out. Good chance right here for Suarez.
How about Scooter Gennett, your cleanup hitter, and arguably the hottest hitter in the league, putting down a sacrifice bunt in a 1-1 game in the 4th inning. Fly ball, center field. This should easily score Votto. Amir will make the catch. Here comes the throw to the plate. And Votto scores. So, a double, a sacrifice from your cleanup hitter, and then a sac fly from your leading RBI man, and Suarez, that's number 31, and the Reds are back in front, 2-1 game.
I think the one description that you left out for Scooter Gennett when you're talking about the number 4 hitter laying down a sacrifice bunt, he's also maybe the best team player on this ball club.
Yep.
And just realizes that in a low-run game like this, you know, you get not that many opportunities against Kyle Hendricks when he's throwing the ball well. So why not take a great advantage of a leadoff double and get that guy to third base?
Schebler with the bases empty and 2 outs. Reds back on top. They led 1-0 And now it's 2-1, and just a bouncing ball over the mound into center field, a base hit for Shevlin. And it continues now for Tucker Barnhart. He struck out against Hendricks his first time up. The end of the batter roll to Chris Bryant, and the Reds' fourth comes to an end, but it's a scoring fourth, and the Reds lead Chicago 2-1.
Where you serve or when you served, we stand ready to serve all military families.
Well, as part of the Ohio Lottery postgame concert series, Cincinnati's very own Walk the Moon will be performing a live concert on the field Saturday, July the 28th. And everyone with a ticket to the Reds game will have a chance to enjoy the show Walk the Moon, one of America's hottest bands, Cincinnati Kids. Reds.com/concerts if you're interested in picking up a ticket for that. They played during the All-Star game. Great show. Young ladies enjoying the baseball game here today. Nice to have them here. Of all ages. And the fellas, of course, too. Luis Castillo has pitched out of a lot of trouble today. Every inning, multiple base runners. Or in the second, more accurately, only one base runner, but every inning runners in scoring position. Chicago has left a whopping 7 runners on base through the front 4. Rizzo, Russell, Schwarber. Here in the 5th, the Reds have taken a 2-1 lead. And a fastball in there, a strike to Rizzo, who was popped to right and struck out. And that was a big strikeout of Rizzo back in the 3rd, because the Cubs started that inning with a single, then a double to drive in a run to tie the game. So they had a runner at second base with nobody out. And the runner never moved. Strikeout of Rizzo, then Russell, an intentional walk, and then a fly ball to end the inning. So the grounds crew is extremely grateful for this sunshine to give them a fighting chance to dry some of this stuff up. It's been soaking wet around here for the better part of 48 hours. Castillo standing under it like he's going to catch it. Boy, it's actually nice to see a pitcher catch a pop fly for a change. I'm not sure that Peraza's all that excited. He may have hurt himself. In fact, he has. Look how far Peraza came for this ball. And he may have rolled an ankle trying to keep from running into Castillo. Now, Castillo was calling the ball, but there's no way Peraza heard it, and he's not waving his hands as if to say, I have it. So Peraza naturally thinks, because pitchers never catch pop-ups, that Peraza's not going to catch it, or that Castillo's not going to catch it. Is that where a pitcher, Chris, should sort of wave his arms and let everybody know I have it?
You know, they're taught to give way. As soon as you hear something at all, you're just taught to give way, because there's a common belief in baseball at every level that pitchers can't catch a pop-up. Peraza's waving to Castillo saying, go ahead, I'm fine.
But only as because, you know, the body language from the time that ball left the bat was that Castillo was going to catch that pop-up.
Well, he probably should have waved his arms a little bit. Maybe he should have yelled. I couldn't hear if he had yelled or not.
But even if he yells forward without waving the hands, with Peraza coming up from behind him, you know, maybe he doesn't hear him.
Yeah.
Oh, he got spiked, it looked like. Didn't roll his ankle. It looked like the spike of Castillo went into the ankle of Peraza. And he's hurting over there. I don't think there's any doubt about it. Suarez will throw out Russell. So once more, we're talking about Castillo trying to get through a 1-2-3 inning, a quick inning. And they will address Peraza's situation when he comes back in the dugout. He's due up third in the bottom of the inning. 88 pitches. And now an 89th on that last pitch for Castillo. And here's number 90, Schwarber, digging in. Breaking ball low.
This will be only the second opportunity this game for Castillo to try to have a 1-2-3 inning. He's only retired the first two in an inning once. That was when he got to the bottom of the order in the second inning. Where is that?
Well, there's no action in the Reds bullpen. Castillo is due to lead off the bottom of the fifth inning. Where was it?
I mean, erase the fox tracks out of your mind and just look where the batter is and where the catcher catches that ball.
Schwarber hacking 3-0 with his team down a run. Trying to tie it with one hearty crack of the bat. Castillo looking for a perfect inning for the first time today. And that's not going to happen. That is his 5th walk.
That's the most he's had in any one game this year. I just get the feeling that today Castillo, even with the stuff that he had, meaning the velocity and the great difference between his fastball and his changeup, nice little breaking ball when he wants to spin it up there right, he's just kind of pitching away from contact. And I'm wondering if watching that game last night, where the Cubs were coming out of their shoes, swinging the bat, had any kind of mental effect on him going right after him today.
Well, I got to tell you, and I said the same thing about the Cubs when the Reds had that dominant run from 2009 to 2014. So I said the same thing about the Cubs, and I'll say the same thing about the Reds. To me, the Reds play the Cubs scared. Now, you can say that's an unfair charge. You call it whatever you want. When a team beats you 41 times out of 59 games, and especially the fashion in which they do it, we gave the numbers last night that in all but like 9 of those games, they're scoring 5 or more runs. And Chris, we know in a lot of those games, it's been 8, 9, 10, 12 runs.
Well, yeah, but I think the last few years, Tom, the pitching that the Reds are running out there against the Cubs just was not competitive enough.
No question.
And it's different now.
Peraza going to cut it loose to first base, and the runner is out at first base. What a play by Peraza.
And Votto.
And I think the Cubs might take a look at this one. Peraza electing to go to first base rather than second there, and let's see. Now we're not going to be able to tell. Maybe this one will give us a better angle. Oh yeah, he's safe. This will be overturned, and this will be an infield hit for Caratini. There's zero doubt about that.
You know, getting back to the aggressiveness of teams playing each other, Tom, I think a lot of times, especially for young pitchers, when you go over a scouting report, sometimes they have a tendency to glorify the hitter. And they tell you what you can't do. Oh, don't throw this breaking ball up in the count. Don't throw a fastball in the inner part of the plate. Don't give him anything hard early in the count, something like that. And pretty soon you're thinking, oh my gosh, this guy's got 1 foot in the Hall of Fame. And I'm wondering if maybe that was the case here with Castillo, coupled with the fact that they were bombing the ball all over the ballpark last night.
Safe is a call at first, so it's an infield hit for Caratini. And what started as the first 2 batters retired in the inning is followed by a walk to Schwarber, and now an infield hit to Caratini. And here's the league's leading run producer coming to the plate. And after all that, now Danny Darwin's coming out of the dugout to have a visit with Castillo on the mound. Looks like there's some stirring around going on in that Reds bullpen in a hurry, and there is. Austin Bryce is starting to throw. And while we have a moment, how about a quick message from Miami Valley Gaming?
Get ready to get lucky.
All right, so here we go. Big moment in the game. Reds with a 2-1 lead, but the always dangerous Javier Baez, the batter. And how about that? Not so dangerous after all for Baez, who's hit his first slump of the year. So good work by Castillo. The Cubs have stranded 9 runners through the first 5 innings and trail the Reds 2-1. Brought to you by Miller Lite. Well, the day is over after 5 innings for Luis Castillo. His mound opponent takes the ball here in the bottom of the 5th, and I mean, there is no hint with this being his 50th pitch of the game. Castillo is up close to 100. That Hendricks will be leaving this game anytime soon. He's given up 2 runs, 4 hits. Reds lead 2-1. Rosell Herrera is the batter. Herrera has 1 hit in 11 at bats. He's 0 for 6 as a pinch hitter. That is a foul ball. .98 pitches in the game, but just 55 of those 98 were strikes for Castillo, who walked 5, 1 intentionally. When they announced Billy Hamilton's name, we told you last night and talked about it for a while. His first time up today. Those 2 guys on the corners plant their feet on the infield grass. Tell you, not many teams do this against Billy Hamilton, play this close, just daring him to bunt. And you know, the more you think about it, it's an excellent strategy, because even though he's not been what you would consider a very good bunter in terms of bunting for hits, when he has put down bunts, the percentage of the time where he puts them down that he gets a hit is pretty high. But the percentage of times where he's swinging the bat, the numbers are not very high. So it's an excellent strategy, and he has just struck out Hamilton. And that's 6 of them in a game now for Hendricks.
Where you talk about Kyle Hendrick doing a lot with a little. I mean, there is nothing intimidating about Hendrick at all, but here he is working through another easy 1, 2, 3 inning.
And that took a total of, what, 8 pitches to get through the inning. 8 pitches, and he struck out 2 batters.
Wicked. Lead the major league in ERA, opponent's batting average, strikeouts, and innings pitched. They are absolutely rolling. Odubel Herrera, 44 straight games reaching base safely. Look at that average and on base. And how about Ozzie Albies from Atlanta? Only second baseman in the last 100 years to have 50 extra base hits in his first 100 career games. The youngsters in Atlanta are something else, guys.
Well, you're not lying about that. I mean, we're talking young. We're talking teenager last year for Albies coming to the big leagues. All right, the Reds now handing the ball to their bullpen, and this has been some kind of bullpen. Now, they've had to log a lot of innings. In the last 10 days, they're averaging almost 5 innings per game as David Hernandez comes on. But even with all those innings, The second lowest ERA at 1.6, third most strikeouts. And the Reds, of course, have won 7 of their last 10 games. Bullpen a big reason why.
Boy, Hernandez feels like he threw 2 perfect pitches to lead off the at-bat with Happ, and he's looking at a 2-0 count.
Well, Barber's had a terrible, Hoberg's had a terrible game behind the plate. Just terrible.
Man.
Well, you know the pitcher's going to bat here in the Chicago 6th. So you have the number 8 hitter Happ, then Hendricks, and back to the top in Almora Jr. That ball is hammered into deep left field, and Winker playing so shallow. This will be a 3-base hit for Happ. He's trying for it, and easily in there. That's about the second or third ball we've seen today where Winker has played very shallow in a small ballpark. And Happ has hit 2 missiles out there into left field today.
Well, if you're going to play shallow, you might as well do it in a small ballpark, because normally anything over your head here is going to be a home run, but this should be a double, not a triple. Just took a while. Maybe it was the way it caromed off the wall there. It never really came back towards the field. It kind of went towards center field, and Winker had to continue to go away from home plate to retrieve it.
Deep left center field off the bat of the pitcher, Hendricks. And he has a double. And this game is tied at 2.
Well, you look up at the batting average for Kyle Hendricks, and you're thinking, oh, 50. I'm just going to spin him up a little breaking ball right there. Unfortunately, it was a cement mixer by Hernandez. A spinner, not a breaker. And anybody with a bat is dangerous.
Bunted into the air by Almora for out number 1. It truly is a sea of blue in the stands here today. When you look down from where we are, just below the upper deck, and you look down into the lower bowl, there are a pile of Cub fans in town for this day-night doubleheader.
That's a bad move by Almora right there. Not the fact that he popped it up. He was bunting for a base hit. He pops it up to the pitcher. He goes halfway down the first baseline, drops his bat. He's already out at that point, and then leaves his bat there to make the bat boy go all the way out there to get it. You make that bad of a play, you ought to drag your bat back there yourself.
Oh, and 1 the count on Chris Bryant. Popped up. Two down, and Hendricks stays at second base. Hernandez has been so good since coming off the disabled list. He did not pitch the first, 4 weeks nearly of this season. But even though he's given up a couple of hits and a run here today, he has been rock solid, like the rest of his mates down there in the Reds bullpen.
Tom, I think you made a great point when the Reds were playing in San Francisco against the Giants, and we're talking about Hernandez, you know, that at the beginning of last year's spring training, the Giants had Hernandez in camp. And they basically really wasn't going to make the team.
You made that point. Don't give me the credit.
I think you did, and he got released, and he went to Atlanta, and then he resurged his career, and he signs a 2-year deal. But, you know, his arm didn't feel well. And the point you made was this is the first time in a while that his arm feels 100%, and it makes a big difference.
Well, they intentionally walk Rizzo to face Addison Russell. Suarez from his belly. And the call is out, and I'm sure the Cubs will look at this one. Second base umpire out there is John Tumpain. We'll see. Joe Madden's waiting.
I mean, Rizzo inexplicably doesn't slide here. So he's got to slow down before he gets to the bag. I don't know, maybe he didn't think that there was going to be a play on him there.
I think they got him.
I think they did too.
Oh, wait a minute. Wait. They're not going to look at it. Okay. Innings over. 2-2 game.
Cincinnati's west side for a special field dedication to longtime Reds clubhouse manager Bernie Stowe. Stowe spent 67 years with the Cincinnati Reds, starting his career at just age 12 as a bat boy before rising to one of the most beloved clubhouse managers in Major League Baseball, period. He's a generational glue, loved by Johnny Bench and Joey Votto alike. Everybody admires and respects Bernie Stowe, and today his legacy will continue on by passing on the game to the next generation with this field dedication. Guys, back up to you.
Well, those of us who knew Bernie personally, you know, the nickname for Bernie Stowe was Barnyard, and every player that ever went through the Reds clubhouse loved him so much. He had such an impact on, you know, more than just one generation. I mean, multi-generations of Reds players, but of course, especially known for what he did for all those guys in the Big Red Machine during the heyday. And you will have to go a long way to find somebody. I guess he and Joe Nuxhall might be among the most beloved Reds personnel in the history of this organization.
Without a doubt, you hit the nail right on the head. Although I'll tell you one thing right now. And it's not easy, believe me, I can speak from experience, and I'm not the only one. There's a ground ball completed by Russell. So Peraza is aboard to start the Cincinnati sixth inning. He may not do it as long, and he may not get the notoriety like his dad, but I tell you, Rick Stowe's on his way to being that same kind of guy. And his brother Mark, of course, over on the visitor side, but just talking about the home clubhouse, Rick Stowe is just like his dad. I mean, just top shelf in every way. I don't want Mark to think I'm not. He's just the exact same way, just talking about the home side.
Or you can go down and get your free hat after the game there, Tom.
I won't get a Cub one because Mark.
He's a little stingy with those, huh? I don't blame him. Well, the Reds catch a break right here. They get Peraza on with an error, and now Joey Votto, Gennett, and Suarez due up in the inning.
But that family, it's like the Nuxhall family, just to finish the thought. They're just the best. Priscilla, Bernie's widow, and of course Donzetta, Joe's.
Of course, I think it's a lot more.
Wife, the kids.
You're right. I mean, the families are they're so interwoven with the fabric of the Reds that you can hardly say, you know, Stowe without thinking Cincinnati Reds.
Right. Well, we certainly miss Bernie being around. I mean, not only was he, unbelievably funny man.
Barnyard. Love that guy. Really
loved him indeed. Votto today struck out his first time up against Hendricks, and Chris had talked about all the success that Votto's had against the Chicago right-hander. He hooked one off the end of the bat, a fly ball down the right field line that Happ tried to make a diving play on, couldn't get it, turned into a double for Votto. That was his last time up.
That's another pitch that Hendricks looking in at Pat Hoberg, the umpire, the same way that David Hernandez did. Thinking that looks like it's the top of the zone. Halfway point between the top of the shoulders and the belt buckle when the batter's getting ready to swing.
Votto takes a walk, so now all of a sudden, after the Cubs tie the game in the top of the inning, it's error, walk to start the Cincinnati bottom of the 6th inning. Now, Scooter Gennett put down a sacrifice. We don't know if he did it on his own. We're assuming he did it on his own. The last time with a runner at second base and nobody out, would he dare bunt again?
I mean, would it even make more sense right now than it did the first time? Reds are now back into a tie. Put a couple of runners in the scoring position.
Boy, and it's so interesting. The Cubs don't believe for a second he's going to bunt again. Now that time he was clearly trying to bunt for a hit.
Well, if you're going to bunt here, the key is to get it by the pitcher. Because if the pitcher fields the ball, you've got a chance for a force play at third and maybe even a double play. Will he do it with one strike on him? That's the question. A lot of hitters don't like to do it with one strike in case they foul it off and get into an 0-2 hole.
And one on Gennett, who swings away, and it is 0-2 after all. Into center field, a base hit. They're going to wave around Votto, and he will score. So Gennett on a 1-2 pitch, after putting down a bunt his last time up, drives in his second run of the game, and the Reds are back on top.
Well, you got to take advantage of what is offered to you, and this inning starts off with an error and then a base on balls. A little ground ball that goes right back through the middle, plates a run. The Reds are still in business right here.
It's been back and forth all day. Reds went up 1-0. Cubs tied the game at 1. Reds went ahead 2-1 in the 4th. Cubs tied in the 6th. Bottom of the inning, Reds right back on top.
Yeah, it goes to show you, Tom, defensively what having a couple of runners on base does to the preferred defense of the Cubs. The Cubs would love to have shifted Gennett right there, and they would have had a guy right up the middle to field that ball had there been nobody on base or even just a runner at first. But having a runner at second base keeps you from doing any of that. So it puts the old-fashioned defense into play, and he goes up the middle to get a base knock.
Suarez had a sac fly to drive in the second Reds run of the game. That came in the 4th inning. Into right center field, this will fall in a hit. They're going to wave around Votto, throw into second base, not going to be in time. RBI double by Suarez, and the beat goes on for the Reds' third baseman, driving in run after run.
Boy, he is having just such a good year. Pitches that are up in the zone, you see him take the other way a lot. And he finds a gap between the center fielder and the right fielder here, and he's going to bring a run in.
Well, now you have a chance to really kick the door down.
I really thought there was some question whether he would be in the lineup today, Tom, because it looked like last night in that ball game, Suarez was really nursing a bad ankle. But it has not affected him at the plate, driven in 2 runs already.
Joe Madden coming to get Hendricks. I mean, this guy was sailing right along. He had given up a couple of runs on only 4 base hits and only walked 1 batter. But then the errors seemed to perhaps lead to the unraveling of Hendricks. He walked the next batter. He's allowed base hits to Gennett and Suarez, and he's through after 5+ innings today. Skyline Chili call to the bullpen. We'll tell you about the new Chicago pitcher when we return. Reds lead by 2. The day's hottest sports topics, Undisputed with Skip and Shannon, weekdays 9:30 a.m. to noon Eastern, only on FS1. Reds have scored twice. They have runners at second and third with nobody out. Scott Schebler, the batter, against a new Cub pitcher, left-hander Randy Rosario.
First time he's been in a ball game here for the Cubs this year. He was in just 2 games in his major league career. That was last year with the Minnesota Twins. Every team is allowed to add another pitcher when they play a doubleheader on a particular day. The Reds added Kevin Shackelford to their roster today. Rosario comes up for the Cubs.
See what kind of year he was having, and that's a mighty good one for their AAA team in Iowa. Shackelford brought back in today. Reds have Amir Garrett ready to go in their bullpen. Still have the pitcher spot in the batting order. 2 away. Looks like it's just going to be one breaking ball after the other from this left-hander Rosario.
Rosario is a guy that never pitched above Double-A last year when the Twins called him up to the major leagues. He got his first taste of Triple-A this year, and we showed you the numbers he had at Iowa.
Cubs have the infield drawn in, Bryant, Russell, Baez, and Rizzo. And it has been nothing but breaking balls every pitch in this at bat to Schebler.
Yeah, how did he get to the Cubs? He was a waiver claim. The Cubs picked him up last November when Minnesota DFA'd him.
Hook down to first. This will not bring in the run. 1 out. Rosario will stay in there undoubtedly to make Tucker Barnhart bat right-handed. And then the Reds will send Adam Duvall into the on-deck circle. That is a pitcher spot next. Not sure what the holdup is for getting the batter into the box here. Joe Madden's not making any move down there. And now Barnhart will get into the box.
Well, the Cubs are expecting something. I mean, they're playing the infield about as close to home plate as you can.
That one bobbled by Baez, and he'll still get the out. So chances for both Schebler and Barnhart to add to this lead, and a pair of ground ball outs, and now Duvall will hit for Hernandez.
Would you go ahead and run? This situation is almost a no-brainer for Joe Madden. They're just going to go ahead and wave the ball on to first base. Why would you pitch to him? Well, I mean, if you're Jim Riggleman, you have really not much choice. You have Tony Cruz, who's the backup catcher. and you have Alex Blandino available.
Well, it wouldn't matter who you sent up there, maybe outside of Tony Cruz, but they're going to pitch to Hamilton. And by using Duvall there, you probably don't leave him in the game. Because if you wanted to double switch there, you'd have to put well, you wouldn't have to. There's some other things you could do. But theoretically, the natural place would be to put, the pitcher spot into the leadoff spot. But the leadoff spot's in the on-deck circle. So that's not going to happen. Unless, of course, Winker bats in the inning. Then you could pull it off.
Yeah.
Bases are loaded. And Hamilton's out of there on strikes. Or was he? No, they say apparently dropped by Caratini.
Billy's having some awkward cuts up there. It looks like his feet are going one way and the bat's going the other. All his weight is on his front knee right there, or front leg. Caratini trying to sell it as a foul tip. Ball was in the dirt.
Inning over, but the Reds come up with 2 big runs to break the tie. We go to the 7th inning, 4-2, Reds in front.
In any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cincinnati Reds.
Well, Jim Riggleman does make the change. He leaves Duvall in to play left field. Schebler stays in right, which means Jesse Winker is out. Batting in his spot is a man who takes over on the mound, Amir Garrett, which leads you to believe it's a pretty safe bet. Garrett's only pitching 1 inning. He's due to lead off the bottom of the 7th. Or, who knows, maybe Jim Riggleman feels like if he can mow him down here in the 7th, and if he leads off the 8th with a 2-run lead, then so be it. But Jared Hughes and Raisel Iglesias are the duo down there that have, generally speaking, handled the 8th and 9th innings with the lead.
Well, nowadays, though, Tom, the options for managers using the extra players on their bench are so limited because almost every team out there is carrying one more reliever than they used to carry. 8 in the bullpen, you have to subtract that from your bench.
So you have Schwarber, Caratini, and then Baez, a trio against Amir Garrett here in the top of the 7th inning. 4 runs, 6 hits for the Reds, 5 left. Cubs 2 runs, 8 hits, 1 huge error, and they have stranded a stunning 11 batters, base runners. 11. They've had 2 in every inning, except for the 1 stranded in the 2nd. And now Amir Garrett comes in and falls behind Schwarber, 3 balls and no strikes. Garrett has simply had a spectacular year. Well, spectacular couple of months. Let's don't get ahead of ourselves, but he's been as good as any left-handed reliever in Major League Baseball for the role in which he is used. And there's a 5-pitch walk.
Well, you know, when he came into camp, Garrett wanted to make it clear that he wanted to be in that competition to be a starting pitcher. And he pitched well enough to make the team out of the bullpen. Now that he's had this kind of success out of the pen, he's right where he wants to be. Now he's somewhere down the road. Maybe if I get a chance to start, I'll think about that. But he's loving what the Reds, how the Reds are using him right now.
You know, the only chink for Garrett has been recently what we just saw to the first batter here. He has now walked 7 batters in his last 11 outings after only walking 2 his first 17 innings on the year. But I mean, all the other numbers are just ridiculous. 3-to-1 strikeout to walk ratio, batting average against 130, a 0.6 ERA. Huge swing and a miss by Caratini. Slide step there, and that fastball had some major league giddy up.
Just goes to show you that the slide step doesn't affect your ability to throw the ball with the same authority. A lot of youngsters shy away from that because they think they lose stuff.
Tapper down to third. Suarez, they'll turn it over and turn the double play. Nicely done by Scooter. He took a big hit out there. I mean, took a big-time hit from Schwarber. Schwarber, a former linebacker for the Middletown Middies. And he went hard into Gennett, who's slow to get up.
Well, the third baseman goes to the line, so it takes a little extra time there. And you really don't have a chance when you're turning a double play right there to use the bag as protection because you've got to get rid of the ball and get to first base. Clean, hard slide by Schwarber. Bang, bang at first base. That's a nice defensive play.
Well, the more you watch Gennett, how do you not love watching this guy play?
Oh, my God.
This guy's just a gamer.
I mean, he's a Cincinnati kind of ball player.
No doubt about it. I mean, he is a player. I mean, you harken back to that play we saw Chris Hinn make in San Francisco the other day, the game they won on Wednesday, that pop-up down the line. Look how far he goes for this ball.
You know, normally when you see catches go to highlight films, it's always the outfielder against the wall. But this is as good a catch as you will see. I think it probably would have landed as a fair ball. There were a couple of runners on base at the time, and that's a game changer. Guy's full of fire.
There's no question.
And I think because of the way he plays, he kind of makes the guys around him a little bit better too.
Amir Garrett staring down Baez. Take a look at this. There's some jawing going on here. Baez took the huge swing on the fastball, and I don't know if there was something said then. But now all of a sudden things are starting to get a little hairy in that scrum down there. And Almora is the one really trying to mix things up. Almora is over there chirping at Amir Garrett. He doesn't have anything to do with anything except making a bad boy chase his bat around. And an accidental fall there by one of the Cubs coaches. I mean, Pedro Strob's going off down there. Baez is still staring through the crowd, and now some of the coaches are trying to get everybody
I'm really
separated.
stunned how quickly that erupted into a bench clearing situation. I can't call it a brawl because there were no punches thrown, but There's the reaction by Garrett. And Baez didn't like that. So Baez says something to Garrett. Garrett says something back, and pretty soon both teams are beginning to have a little stare down. A little push, a little shove.
By Performance Kings Honda. Should be interesting to hear perhaps from some of the participants as to exactly what went down here.
Here's the strikeout pitch and what happened after that. A little extra stare down by Garrett.
Yep.
Jawing by Baez. And then, I mean, all of a sudden, the Cubs came out of their dugout as soon as Garrett and Baez began to walk towards each other.
Well, I mean, Anthony Rizzo was hot, boy. He was the first guy out of that dugout. And you may remember Rizzo had some issues, you know, going back a few years with Aroldis Chapman. And Chapman wasn't backing down. All right, well, it certainly adds for a little drama here, looking ahead to the rest of today. And now we don't know if anything happened. You know, there was that big swing by Baez. And look, he's a very passionate and emotional player. I mean, look, if I'm on the Reds bench last night, the move he pulls last night, when you're getting your brains kicked in and he gets a hit, an infield hit to drive in a run, and he gets beyond the bag, and he stands up and extends his arms in the air, you know, looking around at the crowd like, look at me, I just got a hit. Now, some people, they can say, hey, it's okay, no big deal, and they're probably right. But you can rest assured Amir and Garrett saw that same thing last night. Don't know if that has anything to do with today, but clearly, if there was an antagonist, at least based on the video we just saw, it certainly would have been more on the Reds left-hander than the Chicago batter. You agree?
I like it.
I do too.
I like the drama. I like the spirit. I like to know that these guys aren't just going out here going through the motions because they're being paid a lot of money. Yeah, this is what you want to see. Some hard-nosed baseball, and show me that you care. There were no punches thrown. Nobody got ejected. No harm, no foul.
Blandino off the bench, a two-hopper. His bat may have made contact with the catcher. Blandino turned around and looked right back at Caratini. Make sure he was okay, it looked like. Now Raisel Iglesias is throwing in the bullpen. So he will come on for what will be a save spanning a couple of innings, because there's no one else getting loose alongside of him. And there's no way, after all that emotion, even if they wanted to leave Garrett in the game, that probably was not going to happen.
Can't do it.
I think that's the same ankle that Peraza was stepped on earlier in the game by his pitcher Luis Castillo. And now he fouls the ball off of it. Rosario did a great job in the 6th inning. He came in with runners at second and third and nobody out. Got 2 ground balls without either runner coming in to score. And after an intentional walk, he struck out Billy Hamilton. So that's a pretty good way to make your Chicago Cubs debut. High bouncer down to Bryant, staring straight into the sun, makes a play. Well, don't miss the Marvel Superhero Night at the ballpark. Reds will take on the Cardinals. You can be there for as low as $12. We'll have the big post-game fireworks show set to a superhero-themed soundtrack performed live by the Cincinnati Pops. Thanks to Delta for For tickets, visit Reds.com. 2 down for Joey Votto here in the Reds' 7th inning. Votto today has been on twice, scored twice. Struck out his first time, doubled, scored, walked, scored. Three and two the count. Struck him out to win the inning. What a great job, Cub debut for Rosario. We're off to the 8th. Iglesias trying to cover the final 2 innings. Game 1 of a doubleheader, day-night doubleheader. This one a makeup game from the second game of a 2-game scheduled series, the first week of the season. Well, tomorrow, make Great American Ballpark your family day destination. Our friends at Klosterman Bakery. You can get half-price Reds tickets. They've got the mascot races, face painters, so much more. Kids 14 and younger get a pair of Play Ball wristbands in honor of Play Ball weekend. For tickets, visit Reds.com. Raisel Iglesias has 3 saves so far this year of at least an inning and a third, and 17 in his career with more than 1 inning. In fact, he has 10 saves of 2 innings. And that's what the Reds are asking from him today.
Well, I mean, you know, with Raisel Iglesias, finally a major league team is actually walking the walk after talking the talk about using pitchers for multiple innings and then using closers when you get down to the most crucial and high leverage time of a ball game. I mean, why not turn it over to your best pitcher? They've been saying for years that they were going to do it, and only recently have we seen it, and the Reds might be one of those teams leading the way there.
One ball, 1 strike on Ian Happ.
Oh.
Tommy La Stella stands in the on-deck circle. Reds up 2 with their best pitcher on the mound. And Iglesias just can't believe it. And we've seen this really all day long. We brought up earlier, it's just not been a good day. And look, all of us have a bad day.
Well, I don't know if it's a bad day, Tommy. It's just a very tight strike zone.
Now that one he's right. But we've seen a lot of them today that where he's not been right. If you buy into the whole Fox track thing.
Well, it was Ian Happ who really was in the same situation with David Hernandez in the 6th inning. Hernandez came back from 3-0. He couldn't believe it, and then he ends up hitting a double here to get that inning going.
Boy, can this guy drive the ball the other way. He's made it a 1-run game.
Oh, Iglesias is just toasted right now. Almost an identical at bat for Ian Happ. Had some marginal pitches go his way. Eventually the count came back to a couple of strikes, and he gets a pitch and drives it to left field, but this time it leaves the ballpark.
Well, Iglesias has got to get it together. He is walking around like a madman behind the mound right now, and his pitching coach and his teammates are trying to calm him down. He's got 6 outs to get in this game with a 1-run lead.
Well, he's got to make sure that the battle that he picks right here is against the Cubs and not against the umpire. And that's what they're trying to tell him right here.
Suarez is the guy who's really trying to calm him down.
Well, he's doing all the interpreting.
So 4-2 now, 4-3 after a leadoff home run here in the Cubs' 8th inning. And here's La Stella. This guy can hit. He's never become an everyday player in the major leagues. He does get a decent amount of playing time, but he's got a really good eye and he can hit. And Iglesias has started him 2-0. I'm amazed by that opposite field power we have seen today from Ian Happ. He's hit a double down the left field line that one-hopped the wall. He had another ball that one-hopped the wall in deep left center, and now a home run way back in left center. Two and two. Stella's a tough out.
Stella, if you remember, was back in 2016 the young man who was demoted to the minor leagues because he wasn't playing very well. And he decided, you know what, I'm just going to go ahead and quit. And he went down there for a while and then eventually had a change of heart. Went back and reported to AAA, got back in the good graces of the front office, and finds himself back in the major leagues. He's got a good eye at the plate, and that's one of the really calling cards for him.
I'm sure he feels like it, and he's shown flashes of it where he could be an everyday player with the right team, but it's just not been in Atlanta. It's not been here.
Well, you know, look at the talent that they have on this Cubs ball club, and then you also have Ben Zobrist.
We told you this guy could hit. I mean, he can hit, and that's quite an at-bat right there. That's a 9-pitch at-bat. And now all of a sudden, the Cubs have life. A home run to start the inning, followed by a single.
But he saw enough pitches to finally be able to time it, and even though Iglesias throws that fastball, 95 to 98 miles an hour, I mean, he just rips the head right through the zone.
Oh boy, that got the umpire. Oh boy, you could hear that all the way up here. That hurt. He says he's all right, but that hurt. We're in the third deck. You can hear that ball hitting skin and bone. Tough guys, those umpires, boy. Tough. Iglesias got away with one right there. That was a bit of a hanger.
Pitch number 19 coming up for Iglesias. That's not a big problem right now, but you know, he's got another inning to roll through and another game after this tonight.
Strikes out Amir for the first out of the inning.
Get $5,500 purchase allowance on most Buick Envision models.
Big battle here. Bryant v. Iglesias. Fooled him badly on a breaking ball to start the at-bat. Bryant 2 hits, 4 at-bats with an RBI double in the game.
You know, he's had a lot of swings like this. First pitch, when the Reds throw him a first pitch breaking ball. I mean, he is looking dead red right out of the on-deck circle.
Another breaking ball, and that one hit off the end of the bat to get ahead 0-2. Now here is where we have not seen something you talked about earlier. You know, you get ahead of Bryant 0-2 and maybe you stand him up. Something that runs in, but we'll find out how the rest of the bat goes. He's made him look pretty bad twice down and away on breaking balls to start the at-bat.
Well, as it turned out, Castillo was able to get him out on a fastball away when we talked about that after he had Bryant 0-2. That was in the 4th inning. The last thing you want him to do, though, is get his nose out over the plate.
Beat him with a fastball away at 98. Second out of the inning.
What you don't want really happen, you know, when a guy starts feeling good, you don't want to make a mistake on the outside part of the plate and have a guy feel so comfortable he's able to barrel it up. So you're protecting against your mistakes as much as anything else when you stand a guy up. But if you pitch inside in this situation right here after the bench is already cleared once, umpire may misinterpret it as, you know, something with bad intention.
Another big-time matchup here, Iglesias and Rizzo. Rizzo 0 for 3 was intentionally walked in the 6th inning. But Rizzo is some kind of worked up over that Amir Garrett, Javier Baez thing. He was the first Cub to come sprinting out of their third base side dugout to get as close to Amir Garrett as everyone would let him get. See, 3 of 14, including a home run for Rizzo against the Reds closer. Oh, boy. 97, and what a cut by Rizzo. He comes up empty. Wow. Two and two. Into left center field. This will tie the game. Waving around the runner. Here comes the throw to the plate. Nowhere near in time. Iglesias has given up the save with 2 in the 8th inning.
Well, the difference between the fastball that he threw right by Rizzo and this one got on the outer part of the plate. And you can be a little bit later on pitches that are outside rather than on the inner part of the plate where you have to catch them out in front. And Rizzo was right on it. Boy, there is some serious emotion in that Cubs dugout right now.
And one could make the case there is perhaps too much emotion out on that mound for the Reds right now after what happened and the way this inning began. Because Iglesias did not handle that first at bat well at all.
Well, you know when you're on the mound, you give up a double like that with a runner coming around to score, you should be over there behind third base to back up. And Iglesias at this point is just out of the game mentally. He still has a go-ahead run there at second base. And another inning to pitch. Pitch number 31 coming up.
I think now that he's blown the save, unless the Reds take the lead, we'll see what happens. Dylan Floro is now up and throwing in the Reds bullpen. Boy, this just doesn't even look like the same guy out there on the mound right now.
Well, I think you're
reacting to every pitch.
I think that first at bat with Ian Happ, where he didn't get a couple of pitches to start the inning, really affected him. You feel like you should be ahead in the count instead of behind in the count. You give up a home run, and your instinct is to blame the umpire.
Struck him out. Cubs tied with a 2-run 8th. We're tied at 4. Brought to you by Ray St. Clair Roofing. 2-run top of the 8th to tie it for Chicago. Now Carl Edwards Jr. comes on to pitch. His first 14 games this year, he did not allow a run, spanning 15 innings. And now all of a sudden, his last 3 outings covering 2 innings, he has given up 7 runs. Tell you, when this guy's throwing strikes, he is one of the most unhittable relievers in the league.
Well, he gives you a nice, easy delivery. He's got great backspin on a high fastball. He can pitch up in the zone as well as anybody. And he has a curveball that he starts at the very top of the zone and he drops right in there.
Well, the first 3 scheduled hitters in this inning are a combined 1 for 11 with 6 punch-outs against Edwards. Scooter has the only hit. 0-2. What a job Rosario did. 2 innings, 1 walk, and 2 strikeouts. His Cub debut. And the walk was intentional. So Castillo can't win it. Hendricks can't lose it. And now a battle of the bullpens. And as good as the Reds bullpen has been, really going back to about the 3rd week of April, this has been the biggest strength of this Chicago Cub team all year. They have the 3rd lowest ERA among all bullpens in the National League. Only Arizona and Milwaukee slightly better. Their bullpen ERA is 2.7. Fly ball into left field. It's funny, you talk to the Cub people, and they thought at the beginning of the year their strength was going to be in the starting rotation. And there were concerns about the bullpen, even though they brought in Brandon Morrow. But it's really been the opposite. I mean, the starters are getting better and better as the season goes on. But the bullpen's been lights out since day one. And there you see some of the rankings. Other than the walks, that's been an issue.
Well, of course, they let their main man, their closer, Wade Davis, go to free agency. And that's why they brought in Brandon Morrow to fill that gap. But we've seen over the last few years Carl Edwards Jr. get better and better in that setup role. One of the reasons that he's given up so his earned run average over the last couple of starts time. He had his worst outing of the year on Tuesday against the Atlanta Braves. Got one out, gave up 3 runs, 3 hits, and 2 walks. He looks pretty sharp today.
Suarez out of there on strikes. And it's back-to-back counts for Edwards here in the Reds' 8th inning. Cubs in the 9th will have Schwarber, Caratini, and Javier Baez. And obviously they've still got a lot of weapons left on their bench. They have Wilson Contreras, they have Jason Hayward, and Ben Zobrist. Jeez, that's almost the start of an all-star team sitting on that Chicago bench. Schebler behind, strike 1. I'm not sure Edwards has thrown 5 strikes in this inning.
They're all at the top end of the zone, and they all come out of his hand appearing like they're going to be close enough and good enough to hit. He's got a little extra life on that ball.
0-2 the count on Schebler.
Hey, the curveball's not much at all today. Sometimes we see that thing really snapping. And every time he's thrown one, he threw one to Gennett to get a fly ball. He's thrown that one right there to Schebler. He's hung it. So you got to be thinking fastball all the way against him here this afternoon. Yeah.
Two balls, 2 strikes. Let's see if Schebler can run into one and break this 4-4 tie. Cubs have battled back 3 times from being behind today. And that's ball 3. They appeal and no. I mean, Edwards was on his way back to the dugout. He thought that was strike 3. Should have been strike 3 call. And 2 to Schebler. And it's a 2-out walk. Well, let's see if Tucker Barnhart can get that run in. There goes Shubler. Got a huge jump. No chance to throw him out. I mean, none. So now he's in scoring position here in the bottom of the 8th. And that is the go-ahead run. Two balls and a strike on Shubler. Reds led 1-0. Cubs tied it at 1. 2-1, 2-2, 4-2, 4-4. Go ahead run at second base here in the bottom of the 8th inning. 3 balls and a strike on Tucker Barnhart. Here it comes from Edwards. And a one-hopper handled by Russell. And that's all for the Reds. We go to the 9th, tied at 4. Reds got on the board in the first inning. Who else? Scooter Gennett. Making it a 1-0 game. Chris Bryant would tie it against Luis Castillo with a double into right center field in the 3rd. Reds would take the lead. Cubs would tie it again in the 6th inning. Reds get singles by Gennett and Suarez to take a 2-run lead. But then, Iglesias gives up the home run to Happ to make it a 1-run game, gives up a hit to the next batter. When he was really upset about a call at the plate, I mean, he just completely melted down. Gave up a double to Rizzo. And we are tied at 4. 1 inning, 3 hits, 2 runs by Iglesias. His second blown save of the year. He strikes out 2 and walks a batter. Now Wandy Peralta will take over in this 4-4 game in the 9th.
Now, certainly not the way that Jim Riggleman had it drawn up. When you bring your closer in the 8th inning, you're thinking, all right, I'm going to have a nice, easy 8th inning, and then a 1, 2, 3, 9th, and we're going to go home from there. But especially since Iglesias, when he came in, he faced the bottom 2 of the lineup. The number 8 hitter hit him for a home run. The pinch hitter, LaStella, got a base hit. So now the left-hander, Peralta.
And the guy at the plate is going to make Peralta throw strikes. And that has been the only chink in the armor for Wandy so far this year. He's walked a lot of batters, nearly a batter per inning. Check swing. And a roller back to the mound. That's an important first out to begin the inning, taking care of Schwarber. Lefty on lefty. So now do they go to their bench? No, it looks like they're going to keep Caratini in the game. I mean, they have got a big time roster of players to pick from down on that bench we brought up earlier. They haven't used Hayward, a left-handed batter. They haven't used Zobrist, a switch hitter. And they haven't used their all-star catcher Contreras. Now, Caratini can hit. He's 1 of 4 in the game today. I mean, this guy's their reigning minor league player of the year. He hit .342 last year in Iowa. And in 83 games knocked in 61 runs. So they're not batting for him. Of course, that's doing it at AAA. Contreras has done it in the big league. Look out. Off the end of the bat. And just like that, Wandy ahead 0-2. If you're looking ahead to the bottom of the 9th for the Reds, it'll be Adam Duvall, Billy Hamilton, and then a pinch hitter. I don't think the Reds made any other changes here. Didn't look like. No, they didn't. So it would be Wandy Peralta's spot. He's in there. Reds are hoping for just 1 inning and get a win. That takes care of Caratini.
We featured at the very beginning of the ballgame, Tom, 2 starting pitchers, Hendricks and Luis Castillo, that really leaned on that changeup as one of their most effective pitches. Well, enter the left-handed relief pitcher Wandy Peralta. Same way for him. That changeup for him is his #1 dynamite off-speed pitch. He really just began throwing a slider last year. But with right-handers up there, his fastball changeup.
Javier Baez, the batter. We know what happened the last time he was at the plate. Boy, he smoked that ball and doesn't even run to first. Are you kidding me?
Wow.
Holy Moses. Baez stops a third of the way up the line. On car insurance and by Toyota. For over 30 offers, visit buyatoyota.com. Toyota, let's go places. Oh, we got a few changes here for the Cubs. Take over at second base, a veteran, Ben Zobrist. Baez is out of the game as part of a double switch. Pedro Strop comes on to pitch for Chicago. So Hendricks, 5 innings, all 4 runs, 3 earned. Rosario, a nearly perfect 2 innings. Edwards walks a batter in a scoreless no-hit inning. Cubs have had the better bullpen today. 3 of the 4 Chicago runs have been scored against the Cincinnati bullpen. 2 of the 3 against the Red stopper, Raisel Iglesias. So Adam Duvall to start things. Came on as a pinch hitter in the 6th inning, was intentionally walked, and stayed in the game. One out.
Strop has been Mr. Hold for the last 5 or 6 seasons with the Cubs. He's saved 20 or more, not saved, but he has recorded 20 or more holds, which is a middle reliever's version of a save, each of the last 6 years. So he's been pretty consistent.
Well, what a lift it would be if Hamilton could find a way to get on. He is 0 for 6 so far in the series and has punched out 4 times. And he's going to get on base. This is going to be 2. This is going to be 3. Hamilton is going to, no, he's going to stop right there. Tell you what a job that Happ did to get to that ball in right center field. If that ball rolls 3 more feet, Hamilton standing at third.
Well, the play developed right out there for Billy to see as he came around first base. We got a really good read as to what the Cubs defense was doing with this gapper.
The only guy left on the Reds bench to bat for the pitcher is Tony Cruz.
Well, you give Billy Hamilton a couple of pitches to steal third base and you can squeeze him in.
They used Herrera in the 5th, Duvall in the 6th. And Blandino as well. Strop has just jumped right in front of Cruz. Nothing at 2.
If you're wondering about stealing third base, Hamilton this year has one. And he's not getting much of a lead out there, really, with the intention of trying to go. And strike 3 to Cruz.
Well, Hamilton has stolen third 63 times since his major league debut. And that is the most steals of third base of any player since that time. But now you have 2 outs in the inning. Of course, you still get down there and, you know, the wild pitch, the pass ball, all the different ways you could still get in and score. We'll see. Peraza the batter. Strike 1. We're off to the 10th inning in game 1 of a doubleheader. Four runs, 11 hits, 1 error, and 12 left on base for Chicago. 4 runs, 7 hits, no errors, 7 left for Jim Riggleman's team. That's at the end of 9 innings.
Now, Dylan Floro is the new pitcher. He's going to meet with Pat Hoberg, and Hoberg has said this to every new pitcher that's come into the ball game. Something about, hey, we know that there were increased tensions between these two teams. I don't know if they've delivered a warning to each bench or not. We did not see that from up here, but he's just probably warning Floro to stay away from drilling people.
Oh,
you want to boil it down.
What must be going on through Dylan Floro's mind right now? Remember, he got a shot with these Cubs. I mean, not much of one, but they did give him the opportunity to pitch in the major leagues. And that was last year. He pitched in 3 games for Chicago. Spent 25 games with their AAA affiliate in Iowa. It has been a monster game for Happ. Boy, has he been impressive. He was on base 4 times last night, 3 walks and a double to left center. He's been on base 4 times tonight, 2 doubles. He's been walked and a home run. Or a triple, I beg your pardon. A double, a triple, and a home run. So he is a single away from hitting for the cycle. Believe it or not, the last Cub to hit for the cycle in a game was Mark Grace. Swing and a miss, and hadn't gone on strikes. Floro just blows him away.
Well, Floro's got really some increased confidence in a lot of his pitches. I mean, he's basically a 3-pitch pitcher. Fastball, slider, changeup, and he'll mix in occasionally a 4-seam fastball. That may have been that one right there that he kind of ran up in the zone.
Ben Zobrist bats for the first time. .286 batters. Zobrist started the game here last night. Was on base 3 times, had a hit, couple of walks, scored a run. Floro will get back-to-back outs here in the Chicago 10th. Now Votto reaching back and flexing his leg. Something going on over there. He flexed the right. Well, now in both hamstrings. A little bit over there. Albert Almora Jr. 2 hits, been on base 3 times today. Reds will have Votto, Gennett, Suarez in the bottom of the 10th inning. And apparently that will still be Stroke staying in the game. No activity, or at least none right now. There were a few bodies moving around. Yeah, they've got a left-hander down there getting loose. That looked like it cut the plate in half. Where we sit, I don't know. Well, this is a batter you got to make it happen. You don't want to see that cat in the on-deck circle. You prefer not to see him until the second game of this doubleheader. Not a strike. We've seen that called a strike, but not in this game. That is a strike.
Nice job by Dylan Floro.
Excellent.
Boy. Dunsing's a veteran. He's been around a while. He's 35 years old now, Dunsing. He has spent the majority of his career over in the American League with the Minnesota Twins, where when he first came up, he was a starter. Really excellent year this year on top of a tremendous 2017 where he posted his lowest earned run average in about 7 years last year.
Votto is 2 for 3 in his career against Dunsing. Has walked 3 times. Strike 1.
Dunsing against left-handed hitters is basically a slider machine. He throws across his body, gets his foot down, pulls against his front leg, and has a nice downward break on that pitch.
This Cub bullpen has completely shut down the Reds since taking over for Hendricks all the way back in the 6th inning. Remember, when Rosario walked in the game, the Reds had runners at 2nd and 3rd with nobody out. They did not score in that inning any further runs. Rosario retired 3 of the 4, retired the side in order. Edwards walked a batter but no hits. Strop allowed a hit but struck out 2. And now it's Dunsey. Scooted down the left field line towards the corner. A foul ball.
Away. I'm not so sure the Scooter liked either of these opinions. Side swing there. Did he go or did he not? The home plate umpire is going to look down to third base. Oh, no, he's not.
So Dunsey continues to have his marvelous year. They'll take him out and bring on Cishek from the bullpen to face Suarez. We're back in a moment. Nobody on, and now on the pitch, a veteran reliever, submarine styler, Pat Cishek.
Yeah, the one-time closer for the Miami Marlins. He nailed down 34 saves in 2013, 39 the next year. Pitched with Seattle and Tampa last year after having an arm problem coming out of spring training. Traded at the trade deadline and picked up by the Cubs in the offseason. Well, when this guy was in his heyday, I always sat back and wondered how any right-hander could ever square him up. There's one right there.
Russell's throw is in time, and he takes care of Suarez. Reds are going in order. They're up to the 11th, tied at 4. Set for the 11th, 4-4 game. Dylan Floro looked very sharp in a 1-2-3 10th, and he will be facing the heart of the order. The big hitters here, Bryant, Rizzo, and Russell. Reds had a 2-run lead in the 8th. Cubs tied the game on a home run by Happ, a single by La Stella, and a 2-out run scoring double from Rizzo. Both runs coming against the Reds closer, Raisel Iglesias. Here's Bryant. Had hits in his first 2 times. He's been retired 3 in a row. Strike 1. Scooter far to his left, picks it up, throws, not going to be in time, and backed up by Barnhart. That'll be an infield hit for Bryant to start the Chicago 11th inning. Great effort by Scooter.
Kind of a do-or-die play for Gennett. He gets to the ball, but he's got to know that he has to rush that throw. Comes a long way to get to it. They were playing him up the middle from the second base side, and I'm not so sure they get him anyway. No harm there as the ball is backed up. Barnhart right there to pick it up.
Well, they're giving Bryant an extra minute or two. I don't know if he got some dirt in his eyes or the sunglasses maybe came down and when he went head first, but they're giving him an extra minute or two to regroup down there. Meanwhile, Tucker Barnhart and Anthony Rizzo have had a pretty lively conversation going on there at home plate. Both those guys look like they were belly laughing down there. See a lot more of that in baseball now. That used to be taboo. Rizzo drives one to the left. Playable out there for Duvall. You'll take that. Rizzo swinging at the first pitch of the at bat for the second time today, and both times resulting in pop-ups. Now Russell. He had 4 hits last night. He's 0 for 4 today. 4-4 a game. We are in the 11th inning. Strike one. Runner goes, throw down to second base, and safe to call at second. Bryant picks up his first stolen base of the year, but we mentioned last night, he will come get you every now and again.
He's a very good athlete, Bryant is, and he picks a good time to do it. Reds are taking a look at the video right now to see if it's worth asking for an official replay review.
He's had 13, 8, 7, so every now and again you sleep on him and he'll come get you.
And that's what really happened. He was stolen. He got the base on Floro because that was a really nice throw by Barnhart.
So now you have the go-ahead run in scoring position with 1 out here in the Chicago 11th inning. 1 out, 1 ball and 2 strikes on Addison Russell. Straight up into the air. Bryant's not going anywhere, and that's a second out of the inning. 1 more out to go, and it's left-handed batting Kyle Schwarber. They're going to intentionally walk him, one would think. And take their chances with the right-handed batting Caratini. Yeah, that's what they'll do. And the Cubs are going to send up. It will be Caratini to bat.
Well, you mentioned, Tom, that he was the minor league player of the year, the hitter of the year last year in the Cubs organization. He was actually such a good hitter that he was splitting time between first base and catcher down in the minor leagues. But of course, there's no room at the end of first base in Wrigley Field. So that's why he concentrated on catcher. On the ball club now as a backup to Wilson Contreras.
And you've noticed these last 2 trips to the plate, Caratini is a switch hitter.
Yeah.
And it's basically been a wash so far this year, lefty versus righty, although all of his runs batted in, it should be noted, have come as a left-handed batter. Strike one. What a lift this could be for Floro. A team that gave you a chance, and you're always grateful for the chance. And the Cubs brought him up from AAA, only pitched in 3 games. It didn't go well. But to be able to come back, work a couple of scoreless innings would be a nice lift for this young man, Dylan Floro. And that's what he's going to do. Nicely done. 2 shutout innings so far. Reds coming up. 4-4 game. Runners on base. 14, and that is in a total of what, 6, 7, 8 innings. Because the other innings they didn't leave anybody on. 14. Reds 4 runs, 7 hits, and their offense has been completely non-existent since scoring 2 runs in the 6th inning. They have 1 hit through the 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th innings. Last time the Reds played at least 11 in the first game of a doubleheader. You've got to go all the way back to August of '84 against Houston. The Reds won that on a Skeeter Barnes home run. Oh. Great Cincinnati name from the past,
isn't it?
Justin Wilson, a left-hander on for Chicago.
He is
Joe Madden.
He is a 6th different pitcher that Joe Madden will call out of that Cubs bullpen.
He's managing this one like a World Series game.
Well, he is, and he's had some experience in doing that.
But I mean, when you've got all these weapons they have in their bullpen, and this is some kind of bullpen. I mean, remember now, 3rd best ERA in the league going into play today. With all the shutout innings they've had today, they've no doubt jumped to number 1 in the league.
Well, Wilson, when he came in yesterday, all he did was strike out the side. He did give up a base on balls to Joey Votto, but he took care of Suarez, Duvall, and Winker on strikeouts.
And we haven't even seen their closer yet, Brandon Morrow. And they still have the left-hander Mike Montgomery available down there.
This guy's, though, is got some holes. Wilson this year has walked a lot of batters. I mean, if you give him a chance, he may just walk yourself into a nice little rally here.
A rally for a win.
Walked 13 in 17 innings, so that tells me that if you're Scott Chevalier, you're thinking right down Broadway or nothing.
That was right down Broadway, and he was tardy.
And it was up in the zone, and that's where Shepard likes it, especially when he's facing left-handers.
Wilson can't believe it. He thought that was strike 3.
Welcome to the club. It's a large club here today.
You had the best point of anybody in between innings with all the things they talk about, speeding up Major League Baseball games. If they would just expand the strike zone just a little bit, the pace of this game would be night and day. I mean, think of all the borderline pitches we have seen in this game, and every single one of them have been called a ball. All right, so you have the leadoff man aboard. That's a winning run over there at first in Shepard. And now Tucker Barnhart. Reds have just been so quiet on offense. And they only have 7 hits, and we're in the 11th inning. And this is going to fall in a base hit. Shebler's got to get to third here.
Yep.
Nope, not going to do it. He didn't read it well. Just didn't read it well. I mean, there was no chance a Cub outfielder was going to come within 10 feet of catching that ball.
He's thinking about that now. You see him shaking his head right there, thinking, had a chance to be a base running hero. That little bloop right there was finding green space no matter what.
They weren't within 25 feet of catching that ball. That's not an exaggeration. Nowhere near the ball.
that's one of the pet peeves of Jim Riggleman is how you run the bases, how you prepare to run the bases. It's the first part of it.
See, now you're in a situation where, I think everybody in the place would be stunned if Adam Duvall's asked to bunt. Lord knows when the last time that happened was. He might not have one. We'll look it up, but he might not have a sacrifice bunt in his professional life.
Maybe University of Louisville. You know how that
I'm wrong. The Giants actually used to ask him to do it. If you can believe that or not, guy was hitting 30 home runs a year, and Adam Duvall had 8 sacrifices over 4 years for the Giants. But he's not had one since coming to the Reds. And I'm talking about the Giants minor league system now, not their major league system. All right, well, this is a pitch right here. There is no way Wilson's going to fall behind 3-0. Or would prefer not to fall behind 3-0. And as Chris mentioned a moment ago, that's the one chink in the armor for him so far this year. Hitters always say one pitch, one zone. If it's there, let it rip. And it's ball 3.
Well, he's going to have the mandatory take right here. I don't see any benefit in letting him swing 3-0. 3-0 swings are about 8% of the time you get a 3-0 count. You'll see them.
The count on Adam Duvall. And he takes a strike. All right, so the 2-0 pitch, now you have the same deal on 3-1. Again, hitters will tell you, one pitch, one zone, meaning fastball in whatever location it is they want. And that's different for different guys. Let's see if Duvall can be the hero. Winning one at second with nobody out. Wilson ready. Ball 4 and they're loaded.
This changes everything for Joe Madden of the Cubs right here. He's going to probably change the configuration of the defense, probably bring an outfielder in, put him into the infield, bring the remaining outfielders in very, very shallow. Here comes the right fielder, Happ.
They're going to have Ian Happ come in and get an infielder's glove from the dugout. They'll have 2 outfielders, it looks like, Schwarber and Amora. And then just try to plug every hole in the infield best they can. Naturally with the infield in. Just tell the way Madden runs that huddle. That's like a veteran basketball team. Everybody in there, they've been around Madden long enough now where, he's just looking at one guy, he's nodding his head, next guy nodding his head. It was a pretty tidy huddle.
Well, they're not sure. They weren't involved in the huddle.
No, they weren't.
They need hey, wait a minute, we're out here. You want us to stand this close?
One guy tried to call timeout. But really, in the grand scheme of things, how hard could that have been to figure out? Schwarber's a left fielder. Why wouldn't he be in left center? And Amora's a center fielder. Why wouldn't he be in right center? All right, now they got the extra infielder in. Billy Hamilton's the batter. Winning run at third. Ball 1.
Across the infield here, and then very shallow with Rizzo at first base.
That's Happ playing up the middle. And here is the pitch to Hamilton. Nowhere near the strike zone. Actually, it's Happ playing the second base position. I beg your pardon. They have Zobrist on to the third base side of second. So it goes Bryant, Russell, Zobrist, Happ, Rizzo. 2-0 on Billy. Remember now, this is a huge batter in this game because Dylan Floro is in the on-deck circle, and the Reds have no position players left. This is by far the batter of the game.
And that's why Justin Wilson is thinking strikeout here.
2-1 the count on Billy Hamilton.
Yeah, this is where Billy ought to get right up on top of the plate, stretch down a little bit, just to give the impression that he's got a smaller strike zone right here. Madden, not a whole lot you can do when you're watching this.
All right, here we go. Bases loaded, none out. Infield in, outfield in, 3 balls and a strike on Hamilton. Reds trying to win it in the 11th, which they do. 3 walks in the inning by Wilson, and the Reds walk off in a 5-4 Game 1 victory over Chicago. Our Miller Light hold true moment. We saw it. 1 of 3 walks in the inning of the 4 batters faced by the veteran Justin Wilson. Reds needed that one. What a job by Floro out of the bullpen against his former team. What a great job. Congratulations to him. All right, Reds win the game. 5-4, Reds Live coming up around the corner.